Welcome on into today's broadcast of Utah State women's basketball here on AggieRadio.com. Thanks for tuning in as we get set for a matchup today between the Utah State Aggies and the Falcons of Air Force. Aggies coming into this one on a long road trip. They stuck around after the game against Wyoming. This game seems like it may have never happened. And early on in the week, it certainly appeared like it wouldn't. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. But Utah State coming in 4-15 on the season and 2-5 in Mountain West play. Well, Air Force comes in 0-17, not a win yet for the Falcons, and 0-6 in Mountain West play. Utah State certainly struggled a lot on the road. 1-8 so far this season at games on the road, and then 0-2 neutral. So overall, 1-10 in games away from Logan. Well, Air Force 0-10 here at home. So sort of a little bit of a battle to stay out of the Mountain West cellar. Yeah, Utah State does have a couple of games on Air Force, but that could be closed up a little bit with an Air Force win here today. Utah State against Wyoming earlier this week, really tough outing. They lost 61-44, one of the lower scoring games of the season. Only 44 points for Utah State in that one. And you're going to hear Coach Finkbeiner talk about this in the interview that we have here, and we'll play that in a minute, but just really kind of a struggle for Utah State, especially closing things out. The first half, it was rather close. At halftime, I believe it was either a 4 or 6 point game. It was really close. Utah State was able to keep them in check. But then the second half, things just got blown open. Utah State just couldn't get the ball through the net, shot only 36%, 33% from three, and then on the flip side, Wyoming could not miss. Utah State just had such a hard time contesting three-pointers in that game. They allowed 55% on 12 of 20 from behind the three-point line to Wyoming, 49% shooting from the field. Utah State did only turn the ball over 12 times, which is quite a bit fewer than in some of the earlier games this season, and they forced 18. So they did their job there, but then they were out-rebounded 23-34. So, I mean, all in all, when you look at the stat sheet from that game, it's not hard to tell the reasons that they lost, and that was shooting percentage for them and for Wyoming, and then the rebound game. Only 23 rebounds that entire game for Utah State, and it's going to be really hard for any team to win any game when they only rebound 23 times. So certainly something that you're going to want to watch for here today. Something that Utah State's going to be working hard against Air Force in the rebounding game. Air Force, a team that really struggles rebounding the ball, only 32.9 per game. And then rebounding margin, they're minus 7.8, so they give up almost 8 more rebounds than they have. So that's one of the places Utah State can certainly make up some ground. Anyway, we're going to cut out real quick to an interview from Coach Finkbeiner. This was just about 45 minutes ago here at the arena, him talking about the game against Wyoming and how they plan to bounce back, and a little bit about this Air Force team, and then about this crazy week. It's been a crazy week for the Utah State team. So here's Utah State head coach Jerry Finkbeiner.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining me. First things first, looking back at the game against Wyoming, it seems like not a lot really went well for the team. As you've had a little bit of time to kind of digest it and look back at it, what were the biggest issues that the team had in that game?
Well, first of all, Wyoming is first in the conference, and it's probably the hardest place. Well, it is the hardest place in the conference to play. They just have an outstanding tradition. Very few people, if any, on some given years have beat them there. And I thought we played a good first half, and second half we came out down by 8 and held it there for a couple 3 minutes, and then we kind of had a scouting report lapse. They had their 2 3-point shooters hit three 3-pointers in just a matter of 3 or 4 minutes and pushed it to 13, 14 points, and then we just couldn't overcome that. So, but there's some good things we can take away from it. Scouting report up to that point in time went really well defensively. Offensively, we had less turnovers than our opponents. So there's some good things we can pull from the game, and we're looking forward to seeing Wyoming in a couple weeks in Logan just to see what we can improve on and see how much we can gain on this team.
Now, when you look at the stat sheet from that game, I think one of the quickest things that jumps out is Wyoming's shooting percentages, especially from three. They shot 12 of 20 from beyond the arc. When that happens, how much do you chalk it up to execution, and how much do you chalk it up to scheme, and we need to make adjustments here and there?
Yeah, I think it's really probably understanding and respecting our opponents totally, you know, with what our game plan said. You know, from our scouting report, there's no surprises. Gomez and Rust, they're 2 3-point shooters. They shoot the bulk of their shots, and they shoot in the high 40s, 51% from the three, and that's almost unheard of in college basketball for men or women. And they had their open looks in the second half. They didn't have the open looks the first half, but second half we let our guard down a little bit, and bam, it's over. And so, Wyoming with only one defeat on the year in conference. They're looking down at everybody right now, and it just is an opponent that very small margin of error. I thought Eliza West had a good game. She's kind of making some progress now. I like her trajectory, and I think our other kids had solid games, but obviously we got to play better than that on the road to beat a quality team like Wyoming.
It's been kind of a crazy week. Obviously, so we've been in Colorado and Wyoming ever since that game, and then with the government shutdown and kind of playing it day by day, how has that affected the team's prep? And just tell me a little bit about how crazy this week has been for the team.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week, unlike any other week maybe I've had as a coach in years that I can think of. We're basically snowed in Laramie this past weekend for a solid 24, 36 hours. At the same time, as our fans may remember, the government shutdown is happening. Air Force really had to cancel the game on Saturday against Fresno State. And, do we come down to Denver, Colorado Springs, or do we go home to Logan? But being snowed out left us in Laramie, and then government got back online, and, okay, let's go on down to Denver, Colorado Springs. So it's been a long week on the road. We planned it that way for a variety of reasons, save a little bit of money, missing only one day of class because of down and back, but thinking last July, August when we put this trip together that our team, this would be good for us. So I'm not sure if it's going to be good for us, though, based on all the circumstances this week. And we're playing an Air Force team that is really an interesting situation here. They're 0-17 on the season, but they lost to San Jose State by 1 here. They lost to Colorado State by 1 here. They've had a lot of single-digit losses, and it's a scary opponent. So this game, I don't know if this week will either help us or hurt us, but it's probably going to one or the other based on what's going to happen tonight.
Well, you just mentioned it, and that's what I was going to ask you about next. This team, I mean, they've had 5-6 games decided by less than 3 points. And that seems to, we've talked about that a lot through the season. That's kind of a similar situation with Utah State. A lot of really close games and coming up on the wrong end of them. How much do you worry do you worry at all about the team just seeing a record and overlooking Air Force at all?
Well, we shouldn't, put it that way. As we all know, our record isn't much better. And you're right, we've had several games just like the Air Force where we've gone down at last-second shots and have lost, and we just haven't had any luck, basically. We've been beaten by 3-point shots that are banked in from the top of the key and half court, and everything else never had a chance to gain any confidence, and I'm sure Air Force feels the same way about their season. And last year they beat us here. We had 3 close games last year, and we beat them on neutral and beat them at home. They beat us here, and this game here will mean a lot to, I think, our seeding in March, because they will beat some better here, and hopefully it won't be the Aggies tonight.
All right, Coach, thanks for the time. Good luck tonight.
Thanks, Jaden.
All right, so that's Coach Jerry Finkbeiner, head coach of the Utah State Aggies. It's been a truly crazy week for Utah State. Starting off Friday, they hopped on a plane, flew to Denver, and then drove up to Laramie. Lost to Wyoming, of course. Tough game, we talked about that. But lost to Wyoming, and then that night found out about the government shutdown and that this game against Air Force very well may not happen. So with plans in limbo. Sunday morning, the thought was maybe they'll just drive home, drive back, save a little bit of money, not have to fly, but just take the bus all the way back to Logan, or potentially just go down to Denver. But being snowed in, stuck in Laramie, that kind of became their only option. So spent another night in Laramie, then drove down to Denver Monday with the realization that the government was likely opening back up, and so this game may be back on, but still not entirely sure. So Monday, down to Denver, spent a couple of days there. Well, spent one night there, 2 days, one night, and then right down to Colorado Springs yesterday. Finally, with a little bit of assurance that this game's going to happen. But you heard Coach there talk about, he said that, he's been coaching for a very long time, never experienced a week at all like this during his entire coaching career. Air Force on the other side, crazy week for them as well. Air Force flew out to Fresno State, and they were all set to play Saturday. They were ready to go, had practiced out there, had the hotel, and found out the game is not happening on Saturday because of the government shutdown again. So it was a meaningless trip, flew right back, and they've had a week off without a game, but still traveled, still prepared like they had a game. Couldn't practice for the few days that the government was shut down. Luckily, that was over a weekend, and likely didn't affect them too much anyways. But they are back at it and ready to come back out and play tonight. So this is a game that many people thought would not happen. It was in serious doubt for a while, but luckily things got sorted out, and we're good to go. And here in about 4 or 5 minutes, we will be starting off. About to announce the starting lineups and have the national anthem here in just a second, so we'll pause and listen in on the anthem as they get ready to do that.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. The Air Force Academy would like to welcome all cadets, alumni, and guests to Clune Arena for Air Force women's basketball. We thank you for supporting the Falcons in the fight against breast cancer in tonight's big game. We hope you enjoy tonight's game between the Utah State Aggies and your Air Force Falcons. At this time, please rise and move your hats to honor those defending our freedom at home and abroad. The playing of our national anthem performed tonight by the Air Force Academy Drum and Bugle Corps.
What a special opportunity it is to be here at the United States Air Force Academy for this game. One of the truly unique, truly incredible places in college athletics. They're about to announce starting lineups, and so we'll have those in just a moment. But let's take a look at this Air Force team and what they've done this season. At first glance, you look at it, and obviously it's been a rough year, 0-17. It's tough. 0-17, and there's not a ton you could say. But as you heard us talk about in the pregame interview there with Coach Finkbeiner, a lot of really close games. 5 games decided within 3 points, so that's one possession games, and you've had 5 of them. And he mentioned Colorado State. That was their last game. That was a week ago. They lost by 1 point. That's a game that Utah State traveled to Colorado State, lost by far more than a point. San Jose State, 1 point game. That was the game before. So two straight games decided by 1 point to pretty decent Mountain West Conference opponents, both opponents that Utah State lost by far more than a point to. Earlier this season, they lost to I'm sorry, I just lost what I was looking at, but they lost to Florida International by a point, lost to Colorado Christian by 2 points. And so a lot of games there that if you're Utah State, you're looking at and saying, would we have won that? And a couple of games that they didn't. So I think that this Air Force team certainly better than the record shows. Of course, that's not saying a ton since the record shows 0-17. But if Utah State comes in here overlooking this Air Force team, comes in here just expecting a win, that's far from a guaranteed thing. Last year, Utah State lost to Air Force here in this building. As a matter of fact, in Air Force's last 28 games, they have one win, and that was over Utah State. So the one win in the last 28 games was against Utah State here in this building. Certainly, Utah State with 4 wins on the season can't feel like this is a given. And you heard Coach Strinkbeiner say it there. Our record isn't that much better than theirs, and he said that there's no room for that. So we'll see how it goes. But this Air Force team is much closer to Utah State's level than I think that many would like to admit. Starting lineups are being read right now. Utah State's already been announced, so let's go ahead and read over that. Eliza West, the sophomore guard from Mount Martha, Australia, getting the start tonight at point guard. Shannon Duffesey, sophomore forward from Preston, Australia, going to start as well. She started every game of this season, but did come off the bench against Wyoming, so that was the first time of the season, but back in the starting lineup. Haley Bassett, the sophomore forward from Layton, Utah, making her 9th start of the season. Victoria Price, the sophomore guard from Grand Prairie, Texas, in her 6th start. And Rachel Brewster, the junior guard from Melbourne, Australia, back in the starting lineup as well. Started all but 2 games this season. For Air Force, they're going to start with Dee Bennett, the senior forward from Miami, Florida. They're going to start with Venesana Itugbu, the junior guard from Colorado Springs, Colorado, right here in town. Courtney Porter, the senior guard from Ogden, Utah. Emily Conroe, the freshman guard from Fredericksburg, Virginia. And Caitlin Immel, the freshman guard from Beaverton, Oregon. Utah State almost wins the tip, but looks like it's going to go back to Air Force, so the Falcons will start with the first possession. Biggest change there you see in the Air Force starting lineup is the lack of not having Erica Chapman in the starting lineup. She started 16 games this season. Right off the bat, a steal by Victoria Price, who comes away with it from Caitlin Immel, and then back the other way, a lay-in is missed by Eliza West, but offensive board by Duffesey, passes it under the basket, and Victoria Price lays it in for the first points of the game. Utah State up 2. But again, Chapman out of the starting lineup, and Venesana Itugbu making her 2nd consecutive start and 2nd of the season. So Air Force looking for their first points. Conroe has it at point guard, brings it up top, then hands it off to Porter. Porter over to the right wing for Itugbu. Driving up the baseline, here comes Air Force, and a swat. Conroe tries to go up, Bassett's having none of that. Shot from the top of the arc, though. 3 goes in from Air Force. Dee Bennett as the clock expires. Shot clock ran out because of the block, but she knocks one down from 3 right before that happens. And so Air Force hops up 3-2. Eliza at point guard, passes over to Brewster on the left wing. Hands it back over to Eliza. 14 on the shot clock. Beautiful pass over everyone to Brewster on the right block, who just lays it in. Utah State looking really good on the first 2 offensive possessions, and they have the lead 4-3. For Air Force, Itugbu passes over left corner 3, no good from Conroe, and the rebound by Brewster. Liza driving in from the left wing, has it poked away, steal by Conroe, and flying back one-on-one. Air Force tries to lay it in. Porter can't connect, but the offensive board grabbed and put back up by Bennett, and then Bassett comes down with the board and is fouled. So the foul will go against D. Bennett, and it's going to be Utah State ball after a couple of Air Force opportunities. Unable to connect on 2 lay-ins, and that's good. That could, you know, those are the kind of things, small things there that cost you. So Utah State now at the inbound. 4 Air Force players in the backcourt, though, giving a little bit of pressure for Utah State. Olivia West checks in for her first action and brings it across midcourt. Olivia in for Eliza, and Price and Gear in as well. So early substitutions, 3 of them. Same play as last time. This time Olivia finds Gear with the pass over everyone to the right block in the lay-in. And Utah State goes up 6-3. Utah State executed it twice and did it perfectly both times, and the Aggies are 3 of 4. Lay-in from Air Force. Bennett can't knock it down. And the rebound by Victoria Price, who's just going to drive, try and take it coast to coast. Pass over. Bassett from the baseline. Jumper from 15 won't go. Offensive board by Duffesey, who's going to try and bring it back up the other way, then dump it off to Bassett, and then Bassett walks on the way in before she puts up a shot. Good looking offensive possession until the turnover. Bassett just got 1 step ahead of herself. And so Utah State commits the turnover, their first of the game. Sorry, their second of the game. And it's back to Air Force we go. Utah State leading 6-3. Porter almost brings it across midcourt when Olivia reaches in to try and poke it away, and the whistle blows. It'll be a foul on Olivia West, picking up her first. So Air Force inbounds from midcourt. Inbound to Porter with a fresh shot clock. Porter works off a screen from Bennett. And whistle blows. That's a foul on Air Force. Olivia West hit the floor on the screen, so they're going to say that Bennett didn't have her feet planted as she said it. So turnover there for the Falcons. And Utah State going to get it back. 2 turnovers apiece now. Aggies inbound, shooting 3 of 5 to start things out. Great start. Air Force just 1 of 6 so far. Victoria Price at point guard, passes over to Olivia on the left wing, then sets the screen. Hands it back to Price. Price with 18 on the shot clock. Passes up top to Olivia. She's going to work to the right, try and drive in. Up top, 3. Duffesey no good. Rebound by Courtney Porter. Brings it back across midcourt, guarded by Gear, and she tries to pass it in. Sloppy pass, can't be controlled down low by Etugbu, and that's another turnover by the Falcons. Imagine we're going to see a lot of turnovers in this game. Air Force as Utah State inbounds and has it poked out of bounds. Heads up play. Aggies go to inbound from the baseline, and Courtney Porter pokes it out of bounds and then off Jessie Gear, so Air Force earns it back. And there's another turnover that we were just talking about, but inbound to Porter now for the Falcons. And then Conroe hands it back to Porter. Back over to left wing for Porter. Now up top to Immel. Pump fake for 3. Conroe thought about it. Instead, she's going to pull it down and then dump it in. Lay-in by Courtney Porter goes. And Air Force brings it back within 1. But as I was saying, probably going to see a lot of turnovers here. This Air Force team turns the ball over about 17.9 times per game, which is one of the lowest in the one of the worst in the nation. However, they force 21.7, which is one of the best. Olivia West jumped from about 5 feet, can't get it to go, and then the offensive board or the defensive board grabbed by Air Force, and then whistle blows as Duffesey picks up a foul. But 20th in the nation in turnovers forced with 21.7 per game. So Utah State needs to do a very good job of taking care of the ball if they want to have a chance tonight. So it's 6-5. Utah State will be Air Force ball inbounding from the backcourt. Utah State giving a little bit of full court pressure with Gear and Eliza in the backcourt. Air Force brings it across though as Porter has it. Porter from Ogden, Utah. Tries to drive up towards the baseline. Ball gets poked and out of bounds. It's going to go off of Utah State. Eliza West playing some solid defense there, forcing it out. So from the baseline, Air Force will have it. Having a hard time getting it in, but they finally get it in to Chapman. Chapman from the free throw line works up and around, shoots from 10, can't get it to go, and Bassett with the board. Utah State now shooting 3 of 7, haven't made the last few, and they haven't scored in 2.5 minutes. And then a travel called by Rachel Brewster. She was guarded tightly by Immel, and Immel hit the ground. I thought it may have been a charge call, but they're going to say she walked. So that will be a turnover for Utah State. Again, a little bit of full court pressure by the Aggies, as Eliza's making it tough for Springfield to bring it across, but she does, and hands it off. Immel has it on the right wing, passes it back over, finds Chapman. Chapman over the corner for Springfield, then back up to Chapman, back to Springfield. Gets up to the free throw line, passes over, left wing, Itugbu. Back up to the free throw line, pump fakes, and walks before she passes it, so another turnover. You know, I imagine there'd be a lot of turnovers in this game. I didn't imagine so many unforced, though, as we're 5 minutes into the first quarter and 4 apiece already. So Eliza West has it for Utah State, and she passes it into Bassett. Bassett on the left elbow, backing in, turns around, jumper from 7 feet, won't go. And the rebound by Air Force. Chapman came down with it. Back in transition, they slow it down. Chapman passes it way back to midcourt for Springfield. Springfield steps back to half court and steps up. Passes over to Itugbu. Bring it around the horn. Over to the right wing, now double teamed up top is Immel. Right corner, Itugbu tries to pass it in. It's poked away, stolen by Eliza West. Utah State flying back the other way. Eliza stops, then drives, puts it in with the right-hander, but can't go too much on and off the glass. And Air Force flying back the other way. Springfield kicks it out. Right wing jumper, no good from Immel. Offensive board picked up by D. Bennett. And Air Force going to have another opportunity here. Utah State, 0 of their last 5. Air Force 1 of their last 7. So neither team able to connect. Itugbu has it. She passes up top, finds Chapman. Chapman over to the left wing for Springfield. Springfield driving, knocks down Eliza, and that's an offensive foul. Good job by Eliza West to draw the charge there. Got her feet planted and hit the ground. And so another turnover from Air Force. Utah State has not scored in 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Air Force hasn't scored in 2 minutes and 31 seconds. So pretty sloppy. Utah State 0 of their last 5. Air Force 1 of their last 7. And eventually maybe a team will score again. But it's 6-5 here with 3:42 to go in the first quarter. And we're going to cut out to a quick break and come back with the rest of the first quarter here on AggieRadio.com. All right, welcome on back. Clune Arena here in Colorado Springs, Colorado at the Air Force Academy. Utah State leading the Falcons 6-5 with 3:42 to go in the first quarter. Been sloppy on both ends. Neither team can be too excited about the performance they've had. Utah State hasn't scored in 4 minutes, 13 seconds. Air Force in 2 minutes and 31 seconds. Both teams just gone cold. Utah State started out 3 of 4 from the field and now is 3 of 9. So very big cold streak. And then Utah State turns it over right out of the timeout. Eliza passes it over to Brewster, who I believe stepped out of bounds. And so a quick turnover there. Utah State with 5 turnovers, Air Force with 6. And just continuing to be a sloppy game. Chapman from the left corner drives up to the free throw line, then turns around, it's poked away. Brewster gets it back for Utah State, hits the floor, and then Price is able to come up with it, up to Duffsey on the right elbow, and then they're going to slow it down. Brewster turned the ball over, then earned it back for Utah State. Now Price driving up, tries to pass it over to Mason, gets it to her on the block, then over to the left corner for Brewster. Brewster drives in, passes up to Eliza. Eliza over to Mason as she drives into the paint. It's going to go out of bounds. That is off, I believe, off of Air Force, so I believe it will stay Utah. Yep, going to stay Utah State's way. So with 13 on the shot clock, Brewster to inbound. Passes way up top towards midcourt to Deja Mason and passes over to Price. 9 on the shot clock. Here's Eliza. Eliza with 5 seconds, passes over left corner, 3 up. Brewster too long, and the offensive board grabbed by Deja Mason somehow got her hand on that. That was a high board, tipped it, and then came down with it. So Utah State resets the shot clock, and we'll have another chance here. Eliza into Mason on the left wing, on the left elbow, then spins around, backs in, puts it up, and that is a traveling violation by Utah State. So another turnover, number 6 for Utah State. And the Aggies have missed 6 straight shots. Haven't scored in 5.5 minutes. Yet still lead 6-5 somehow. 5.5 minute scoring drought and they still lead. Porter passes into the free throw line for Immel, who turns around, shoots from 10, can't get it to go. Board grab by Mason. Coming back the other way, here's Eliza. Up to the left wing, screen from Mason. Backs off. Hands it off to Price, almost poked into the backcourt by Air Force. Quick hands by Springfield. Then she drives in, passes over, left elbow jumper. Brewster knocks it down and breaks the scoring drought for Utah State as the Aggies extend the lead now 8-5. We've got 1:50 to go. So Brewster now with 4 points, leading the way for Utah State. Right elbow, D. Bennett has it. She hands it back to Porter. Porter driving in, goes up, puts it off the glass, grabs her own board, and then it's knocked out of bounds by Utah State. So it will stay Air Force's way after the offensive board. For Air Force, Conroe comes in for Chapman. Looks like also Itubu coming back in for Immel. So 1:33 to go. Utah State, or Air Force to inbound from the baseline. Porter inbounds it to Bennett. Then back up top, Air Force resets things. Springfield has it. Fresh shot clock. Over left corner, 3 up. In and out, no good from from Conroe that shot that. And Utah State with the board. Aggies up to 8-5, can extend that here with some points. Price passes it over, finds Olivia on the left wing, and screen from Mason. Whistle blows. That is going to go against Air Force. See what player. I'm going to say D. Bennett on the screen. Tried to break through Deja Mason's screen. So that's the 4th team foul for Air Force. They're 1 away from the bonus. Not a single free throw yet for either team in this one. So Utah State to inbound from the baseline. Olivia passes up. Left wing for Brewster. Brewster works up top. Tries to pass it, stolen away, another turnover. Itubu comes away with it. And a lot of frustration from Utah State. Coach Finkbeiner furious as his team picks up their 7th turnover of the game. Springfield passes over to Itubu. Up top. 14 on the shot clock. Hands it back to Springfield, driving into the paint, over the right wing, pump fake by Porter, steps up and knocks one down. Thought about the 3, stepped up, hit it from inside, and that brings Air Force back within 1. It's 8-7, 26 seconds to go. We got about 3-4 seconds between shot and game clock. Olivia West on the left wing gets the screen from Franson. Brings it up top, drives into the paint, and pass goes out of bounds. They're going to say off of Utah State. I thought a Falcon player might have got her hands on it, but it's going to be the 8th turnover in the quarter for Utah State. And Air Force going to have an opportunity for the last points here and could go up with a bucket. Falcons bring it across midcourt. Itubu hands it off to Springfield. Springfield tries to pass, stolen away by Franson. 2 seconds to go. Franson up to Price. Price has to heave it just in front of half court. In and out, just about got it from the logo. But Utah State, a good defensive effort there. But after 1 quarter, it is 8-7. Ugly, ugly game on both sides Utah State shooting 36%, Air Force 23%. One three-pointer combined between the two teams. That was Air Force. And 8 turnovers apiece. Utah State leading the rebounding battle 9-8. And it's just neither team able to hit, neither team able to take advantage of opportunities. And so that is how the first quarter going to end. Utah State leading 8-7. And we're going to cut out for a quick break and come back with the second quarter here in Colorado Springs. Welcome on back after a first quarter that was quite ugly on either side. Utah State to start out, leading 8-7 here in the second quarter. Aggies with the ball first as they inbound, and Victoria Price has it. She works off a screen from Mason at the top of the arc, then has it almost poked away. Able to hold on to it, passes over to Olivia on the right wing, then back up top. Price with 15 on the shot clock, goes right then left, driving up, puts up a shot and walks as she goes in. So another turnover there by Utah State. Turnover number 9. You knew that there was going to be a lot of turnovers in this game. I mean, Air Force turns the ball over about 17.9 times per game and forces 21.7. That's 20th in the nation. I mentioned that before, but far more than expected so far. Free throw line jumper goes in from Air Force as Itugbu knocks it down. So for the first time of the game, Air Force has a lead. Price passes it in to Brewster, who spins around and gets the lead right back for Utah State. Goes up 10-9. Good job by Brewster, who's leading the way for Utah State with 6 points. 3 of 4 shooting for the junior. 2 rebounds as well. Tugbu has it, gets up to the free throw line, then passes it out. 3 up from Conroe, no good. Offensive board, though, grabbed by Air Force, and Porter puts it right back up. Porter fights for the offensive board, then gets the bucket, and Air Force goes back up 11-10. So a lot more scoring happening here, a minute and a half into the second quarter, but still a lot of sloppy play on the other side. Olivia drives up the baseline, shoots from 10, won't go, and then the rebound tipped out of bounds by Immel, so Utah State going to keep it. 3 subs as Bassett, Eliza, and Brewster and Duffesey check back in for Utah State. Inbound right away to Bassett. Bassett shoots from 15, won't go on the baseline. Coming back the other way, Air Force has one-on-one. Conroe goes to the basket, puts it up, is fouled on the way. So we're going to have our first free throws of the game here coming for Air Force. Really coming for either side. Neither team made a trip to the line. It's going to be Emily Conroe, the freshman from Fredericksburg, Virginia, shooting. She's team leading 84% from the free throw line. And the first one is good. So Air Force up 12-10 now after that. One more coming. Conroe, a freshman, second on the team in points per game with 10. Misses the second, a rare miss there, but the offensive board by Air Force and then put back up. Itugbu puts it up and is fouled and one for Air Force. Utah State just fell asleep. Bassett tipped it up in the air and then right back to Itugbu. And Air Force can go up by 5 with a connection here. Tugbu, an 82% free throw shooter. And she gets it to go. So Air Force up 15-10 after a disastrous possession for Utah State. Eliza passes into Duffy on the left elbow. Duffy back up to Eliza. Bassett's on the floor. Looks like she might have hit her head. So whistle blows. Gonna make sure she's okay. She's getting up awful slowly. Seems a little bit dazed. Back up on her feet though. Looks like she's gonna try to stay in. But Air Force gonna, not sure if it was Air Force. It looks like Air Force might have called a timeout. But so team's gonna head back to the huddle. Probably good for Utah State. Gonna make sure Bassett's okay. You always hate to see that. It will be Air Force ball after the timeout though, I believe. Up 15-10. Leading the way for Utah State so far, Brewster has 6 points, 6 of the 10 for Utah State. The other two players, Gear and Price, with a couple apiece. Porter for Air Force leading the way, 6 points, and then Itugbu and Bennett with 3 apiece. So it was a quick timeout, and we're right back at it. Utah State trailing 15-10. Air Force, quite a low-scoring team. I mean, they only score about 56.5 per game, but this is even far lower scoring than you would have imagined. Bassett hands it off to Brewster as they get in. Brewster from 15 won't go, rattles in and out, and the board by Courtney Porter coming back the other way for Air Force. Dumps it in, right block, shot up, no good from Conroe, but grabs her own board. Hands it off to Chapman, who puts it up off the glass, and Air Force leads 17-10. Air Force on a 6-0 run, and Coach Finkbeiner not very happy about it. Calls a timeout, understandably so. And so we're going to cut out as well with that. Come back in just a moment with the rest of the second quarter here at Air Force. All right, welcome on back out, Colorado Springs. Utah State trailing the Air Force Falcons 17-10 after quarter and then 2.5 minutes into the second. This Air Force team win this 0-17 this season and currently have a 7-point lead over Utah State. Colorado State, though, Air Force just played Colorado State last week, came within a point. Before that, played San Jose State, came within a point. So the last 2 games decided by a total of 2 points. Both losses, and both the quality Mountain West teams that Utah State lost to each of them. So, it's a better team than it looks like on paper. But if you're Utah State, so many missed opportunities here. 9 turnovers. You're getting out-rebounded 13-10. You're shooting 33%. And just missing opportunities right now. But it is Utah State ball as we come out of the timeout. Eliza West has it and passes over to Olivia on the left wing. Olivia guarded by Porter, passes back up to Duffy. Hands it off, looking for Eliza, and then a foul on Air Force. It's going to be on the floor, and it will go against Venesana Itugbu. So she picks up her first, and that's just the first for the Falcons as well. Utah State inbounds from the front court. Eliza passes it back to Olivia. Olivia drives up to the paint, passes over to Duffy on the right wing. Beautiful pass down low for Bassett. And Utah State comes back within 5. Duffy drove in, found the window underneath, in a crowded paint, and Bassett comes up with her first points of the game. So back to Air Force. Up top, Porter has it at the free throw line, takes a step back, passes it in, backing in. Bynum puts one up, doesn't go, and Duffy comes down with the board. Eliza steps up to the free throw line, passes over to Brewster on the right wing, who drives in, passes over to Bassett, then back up top to Olivia. Resets with 15 on the shot clock. Olivia driving in one-on-one, tries to put it up, is blocked, and Air Force comes down with it. That is Bynum with the block. I'm sorry, that was Itugbu with the block. And so Air Force back in possession now. Porter dumps it in, gets Bynum. Back over to the right wing. Here's Chapman. Chapman goes driving in. Bassett hits the floor. That's going to be a foul on Bassett. So Haley Bassett picks up her first foul of the game, and that is for Utah State, the third here of the quarter. Brewster and Olivia West check out. Price checks in along with Gear. Aggies trailing 17-12, 6:16 to go here in the second. Air Force ball inbound coming from the baseline. Immel to inbound. Gets it in, finds Chapman on the right block, and then Gear hits the floor trying to wrestle it away, forces a jump ball, heads up play by Jesse Gear. It will stay Air Force's way, but that changes the possession arrow. So good hustle play. Air Force to inbound now from the baseline with 28 on the shot clock. Springfield looking around, trying to find a player. She finds one in Bynum, who turns around and puts it up. And 19-12 now the Air Force lead. Liza brings it over midcourt, gets inside the three-point line and stops, spins around, passes it up top. Liza has a three if she wants it, instead passes it back to Duffy. Duffy driving in, gets up to the right block, puts up with the lefty, no good, grabs her on board though, wrestles it down over to the left wing for Gear, then back up top to reset for Eliza, who's going to drive into the paint. Off the glass, Eliza gets it to go, and it's a 5-point game. Aggies trailing 19-14, cleaning things up a bit here though. Another whistle. I believe this is on Price. Yep, that's going to be on Price. Air Force just went driving into the basket. Price reached in. The danger here is that Utah State now already has 4 fouls, and we still got 5:32 to go here in the quarter. So early foul trouble for Utah State. Inbound to Springfield. Springfield guarded by Price, backs up, then drives in, gets into the paint, has it poked away. Eliza forces a jump ball, and this time it's going to go to Utah State. So good defensive effort there by the Aggies. If you're Utah State, you have to look at this and say, look, we start hitting a couple more shots, turn the ball over a couple less times, and we're easily in the lead. It's been sloppy on both sides, and so whichever team cleans it up first, going to come out to a big lead. Liza over to left corner, finds Duffy, then back up to Gear. Gear way up near the logo. Passes over to Price. Price steps back to midcourt, drives up, gets to the free throw line right then left, puts up with the lefty off the glass too much, and the rebound by Chapman. Got a nice look at the rebound at the lane, just put too much on it. And then Porter passes over for a baseline jumper. Bynum can't connect, but an offensive board by Porter. Another offensive board by Air Force, their 8th. Driving up the baseline is Springfield, but she's swatted by Haley Bassett. Haley Bassett having none of that. And then Price has it poked out of bounds by Springfield. One ref pointed Utah State's way, the other pointed Air Force's way. It looks like they're going to say it's Utah State ball, though. So Utah State to inbound from the backcourt. Haley Bassett checks out, and Mason checks in. Price inbounds to Eliza West. Got a little bit of pressure, and then Air Force lays back. Liza brings it across midcourt, gets up to the free throw line, stops, dumps it off to Gear, driving in over to Mason, and Mason goes up but is fouled. So that's going to go against Air Force. It's Erica Chapman picking it up First free throws of the game for Utah State coming up now with Deja Mason heading to the line. Deja Mason, just a 52% free throw shooter this season. Sophomore from San Antonio has a couple. First one up and no good. Lead remains 19-14 for Air Force. One more coming. Mason's second rattles in. So Utah State brings it back to a 4-point game. Porter passes it back, finds Chapman, trying to bring it across midcourt, but a lot of pressure. Utah State almost comes away with the steal, and then a 10-second violation. They forced it. Aggies had a lot of players in the backcourt going for the steal, and even though Air Force just about broke through, got it across, they took too long doing so. So a 10-second violation, don't see those often. And Utah State forces a turnover. Big defensive possession there for the Aggies. So now Eliza gets up to the free throw line. Shake and bake back out over to the right wing for Duffsey, then up top. Here's Price. Price driving in over to the right wing. Duffsey again, then up top for Eliza. 12 on the shot clock. Eliza with the crossover, driving up, puts it up with the lefty, off the glass, too short. And Air Force comes down with it, then one-on-one back the other way. Immel working against Gear. With the Euro step, puts it off the glass. Coach Finkbeiner wants it travel, but no call, and that's going to put Air Force up 21-15. Got 3:30 to go here in the half. Eliza tries to pass it over to Gear, just an ugly-looking pass. Somehow Gear keeps it alive, then passes it back out to the corner, and it's tipped out of bounds by Air Force, so Utah State going to get it. Keeping possession, they're lucky to even have it after just a bad-looking pass that somehow stayed Utah State's way. Gear inbounds, finds Eliza on the left wing, 12 on the shot clock. Eliza steps up to the arc, then backs up, gets a screen from Duffsey, then passes it back to her. Duffsey dumps it in. Mason backing in, 4 on the shot clock, goes up, in and out, no good. Tipped back by Duffsey to Price. Price somehow keeps it in, but it's going to go out of bounds after she tips it back in, so it will go back to Air Force. Good effort, though, by the Aggies there. Fighting for a second opportunity. They don't get it. So from their own baseline, Air Force inbounds. Utah State giving light pressure this time, not nearly as much as last time, and the Falcons bring it across Springfield, back to Bennett at the logo, then back to Springfield. 20 on the shot clock. Springfield guarded by Price. Works off a screen from Bennett, goes to the right, passes over to Porter. Porter near the corner, drives up, gets towards the key, back over to Springfield. Springfield trying to bring it up the other way, is blocked down low. And Utah State comes away with it. I believe that was Mason that got her hand on it. So Utah State with 2:30 to go, trails by 6. Eliza gets a screen from Mason, works off it to the left, and passes it back to Mason long. Mason double teamed, back up to Eliza. Top of the arc, 8 on the shot clock. Price has it, left wing. Screen from Eliza, Price gonna work off it. Top of the arc, 3, no good, and Air Force with the board. Porter came down with it. Back across midcourt, Porter stops at the free throw line, passes over right. Bennett has an open shot, no good from 18. And then the rebound tipped out of bounds by Victoria Price. Aggies couldn't come down with it, and it's just careless plays by Utah State. Keeps on giving Air Force second, third, and fourth opportunities. So Air Force to inbound from their own baseline. It's 21-15, Falcons lead. Porter looking around, she gets it up to the right wing for Immel. Immel drives into the paint, puts it up, and good. Off the glass, now the Air Force lead up to 8. 1:46 to go. Brewster inbounds, a lot of Air Force pressure this time. Brewster breaks it across midcourt, gets into the paint, stops, pump fakes, back out to Gear on the left wing. Gear gets up into the paint, tries to put up with the right hand, but it's stuffed as she goes up. Caitlin Immel comes down with it. Big block there by Air Force, and the freshman making plays, and then back the other way. Air Force drives up, gets fouled. Porter going to head to the line. Foul against Emmy Harris. She just checked in less than a minute ago, already picks one up. So Courtney Porter, the senior from Ogden, Utah, can have a couple of shots. Bonneville High School. First shot is good. She's a 55% free throw shooter, so not the strongest on the team, but she knocks down the first. Porter is the Air Force career record holder for assists with 393 and steals with 216. Phenomenal player for the Falcons. She's currently second in the Mountain West, 4.4 assists per game. Can't make the second. Brewster with the rebound, so it's 24-15 Air Force. Brewster to Eliza. Eliza across midcourt. Eliza works to the left, hands it off to Harris. Harris gets a screen from Mason and then throws a bad pass, easily stolen away by Atugbu. And yet another Utah State turnover. 10 turnovers for the Aggies. Back the other way, a shot goes up from the block. Bynum can't connect, but an offensive board by Air Force. Again, Conroe has it. Hands off to Atugbu, driving up. Tries to go, and a hard foul down low on Rachel Brewster. Couple more free throws coming for Air Force. I believe that's going to be Atugbu heading to the free throw line. That is correct. So Atugbu making her second shot, to making her second trip to the free throw line. She's 1 of 2 on her first. First shot, no good. Hits the front of the rim. Atugbu made her second start of the season here tonight. Started against Colorado State as well, and back in the starting lineup tonight. She's an 82% free throw shooter, but just 1 of 3 so far tonight. And the second one is good. So it's 25-15 Air Force. Aggies trail by 10. Liza up top gets a screen from Mason. Gets up to the free throw line, working up left side. Puts it off the glass with the lefty and is good. And that creates a 2-for-1 opportunity. Air Force has it with about 5 seconds between shot and game clock, so Utah State can get it last. Good execution by Utah State there to force that. Here's Immel for the Falcons. Has a screen, doesn't want it. She's guarded by Olivia. Back towards midcourt, she steps up. This time uses the screen from Bynum. Gets up to the right wing. Jumper goes up from 15. Conroe connects from the free throw line. And the lead back up to 10. Utah State needs to inbound quickly. 3 seconds to go. Passes up. 3 from Emmy Harris at the buzzer. Rolls in and out. Just about got it to go. But at halftime, Utah State trails by 10. Playing an 0-17 Air Force team, and they trail 27-17. Ugly, ugly all around for Utah State. 31% shooting from the field, 0 of 4 from 3, 10 turnovers, out-rebounded 23-15. Second chance points, they're being outscored 13-4. Not a positive stat on the entire board for Utah State that I can see. Just a train wreck of a first half. If you're Coach Friedbeiner, you're almost telling your team they're lucky to be down by just 10, because if they can go in and they can clean things up and play halfway decent here in the second half, it's going to be a game. But just not the greatest effort we've seen from this Utah State team in the first half, as they trail 27-17. Leading scorers for Utah State is Rachel Brewster with 6 points. She's got 2 rebounds as well, and then Eliza West with 4 points and an assist. For Air Force, Porter has 7 points, 7 rebounds, already nearing a double-double at halftime. And then a couple players with 4, Bynum, Immel, and Atugbu with 4 apiece. At halftime, 27-17 our score here from Colorado Springs at Clune Arena. We're going to cut out for a halftime break and come back in just a few minutes with the second half of action. All right, welcome back. It's halftime here at Clune Arena in Colorado Springs, where Utah State is trailing the Air Force Academy Falcons 27-17 after the first half. Probably the ugliest half of basketball we've seen from Utah State this entire season, which in a 4-15 season is saying something. But just struggle all around. They played well for about the first 4 minutes of the half, and then after that, it was pretty downhill for Utah State. I mean, they only scored 17 points, shot 31%, turned the ball over 10 times, only 15 rebounds to Air Force's 23, and just a very flat half. I mean, the thing that if you're a Utah State fan and you're looking for some encouragement, it's that if they play even half of what they usually do, if they play even close to decent, I mean, this is a game. They trail by 10, but that's a lead that could disappear really quick, especially because Air Force truly isn't playing very well either. Falcons looking for their first win of the season, 0-17, and trying to get out of that last place column in the Mountain West. There are 3 other winless teams in the nation, though. Mississippi Valley State 0-18, Iona 0-18, and Chicago State, who is 0-20. So they're not alone as a winless team, but well on their way, if they're able to keep this up, to their first win of the season here against Utah State. Leading the way in the first quarter, in the first half for Utah State was Rachel Brewster, who had 6 points, and for Air Force, it was Courtney Porter with 7 points. Porter is a senior from Bonneville, Utah. Well, from Ogden, Utah, Bonneville High School, I should say. And just a phenomenal player. She's had a great 4-year career. As I mentioned earlier, the all-time assist and steal leader for Air Force. She's second in the Mountain West in assists per game, first in steals per game, third on the team in points per game, second in rebounds. Just an all-around phenomenal player. She'll be well missed, but a lot of young talent on this Air Force team. They went 4-25 last year, and then lost a couple of very key players, a freshman that didn't return to the team. And, you know, it's just a tough place. It's a tough place to recruit to. It's a tough place to bring in talent. It's a tough place to win overall. Just, you know, in the last 5.5 seasons, 12 wins for this Air Force team. Just really struggled, but looking for a win here tonight, which would be very big for the Falcons. Again, they've won one of their last 28 games. That one win over Utah State last year here in Clune Arena. That was a 46-40, no, a 61-64 Air Force win. They scored 64, held Utah State to 61. Other than that, they did play 2 other times as Utah State won in Logan 65-62, and then beat them in the Mountain West tournament 46-40. So these teams played 3 times last year, and all 3 games decided by less than 6 points. And Utah State was one of Air Force's 4 wins of the season. Looking to avoid a similar fate tonight, but it's going to take a big effort, especially coming right out of halftime. I imagine the biggest things Coach is telling them is look, you have to hit the rebounds better. Air Force this season not a good rebounding team by any means. They are on average out-rebounded by 8 rebounds per game. And Utah State currently has 8 fewer than Air Force. So 23-15 in the rebounding category to a team that is out-rebounded by 8 per game. That's absolutely unacceptable if you're Utah State. Turnovers, obviously that's a big one. I mean, actually, Air Force forces 21.7, and Utah State only has 10. But it's still a lot of turnovers, and certainly a place that you can clean things up if you're the Aggies. If they take care of the ball better and they start to rebound more, and of course, if the shots start to fall, they're right back in it. But those are pretty big ifs after seeing how the team played in the first half. We're back at it. Air Force has the ball to start out the second, and a 27-17 lead for Air Force. Ball almost stolen away right away as 2 Aggie players jump on it to force a jump ball. Brewster and Price jumped on Itugbu, who hit the floor, and it's going to be a jump ball going Utah State's way. So good job by Utah State to earn the ball right out of halftime. So Eliza West has it for Utah State. On the court is Eliza, Bassett, Brewster, Duffesey, and Price. Duffesey now on the right wing, hands it back to Brewster. Brewster working towards the left, gets up top. Guarded tightly by Bennett, passes over to Bassett, almost poked away by the Falcons, but Utah State controls it. 6 seconds, 5, 3 goes up. Brewster knocks it down top of the arc. And that's a spark that Utah State desperately needs. 7-point game. Rachel Brewster now with 9 points, 4 of 6 for the junior. Back the other way. Victoria Price reaches in to try and force another steal against Immel, but this time she's called for the foul. She got some arm on it. So Utah State picks up a quick foul here in the third. Price, that's going to be her second personal. So Falcons inbound. Immel has it in the right corner, then back up top to Porter with a fresh shot clock. Porter guarded by Eliza, works off a screen, then hands it over to Etugbu. Over to the right side for Immel. Has it poked out of bounds by Price. They're going to say Utah State touched it last, so it will stay with the Falcons with a 16 seconds to go on the shot clock. So Air Force inbounds it. Hands off in the paint to Etugbu, who goes up, puts up a lay-in, but no good, and Brewster comes down with the board. Rachel Brewster, her third rebound now, 9 points. Eliza gets up into the paint, puts up a wild lefty, almost fell, spun all the way around the basket and fell off. And just an unlucky break for Utah State there. Air Force comes down with it. Porter with it on the right wing, guarded by Eliza, passes it over, finds Bennett. Bennett guarded by Bassett, gets into the paint, puts it up, right-hander off the glass too much, and Duffesey with the board. Duffesey now with 7 rebounds. Not a single point, though, yet for Duffesey. So Eliza passes over Duffesey on the left wing. Hands it off to Brewster. 15 on the shot clock. Brewster guarded by Porter. Steps back. 10 on the shot clock. She starts to drive, goes up, lefty off the glass too short. And the rebound by Porter. Back the other way. Quick bucket in transition. No good on the lay-in, but offensive board put back up by Bennett, who's fouled. Another offensive rebound by Air Force. They did have 2-on-1, so I mean a good job to force the missed layup, but the offensive board goes back up, and a couple shots coming now for Air Force as Dee Bennett makes her first trip to the free throw line. Bennett has 3 points, 4 rebounds. She's the team leader with 6.6 rebounds per game, also 4.4 points. She makes the first free throw. 77% free throw shooter. One more coming up. Knocks down the second as well. Bennett's third in career rebounds in program history with 632. Utah State inbounds, and Eliza gets pressure in the backcourt but brings it across. Utah State trailing 29-20. Eliza backs up, uses a screen from Duffesey, then passes off to Bassett. Bassett left wing up to the free throw line, over to Eliza on the right wing. 15 on the shot clock. Eliza going to drive, gets up into the paint, and then blocked down low. Etugbu stuffs it, and then Air Force comes down with it, coming back the other way. Falcons, beautiful pass into the paint, and then a spin around and lay in by Immel. And Air Force now with their biggest lead of the game, 31-20. Eliza uses a screen from Duffesey, then passes over to Bassett. Bassett dumps it in, finds Duffesey on the block, turns around, puts it up. There's Duffesey's first points of the game. And it's back to 31-22. So Duffesey now with 7 rebounds, and 2 points. Only 1 of 3 from the field, so only 3 shots taken. Porter works off a screen, passes it up, gets the lay-in from Bennett, but too much on it. Good defense by Utah State. Brewster comes down with it and is fouled right away. So the first team foul for the Falcons this half. And it's going to go back to Utah State. They're going to inbound from their own baseline. Aggies trail by 9, trying to make a little bit of a run and bring it back a little bit closer. They inbound to Price. Price again, light pressure in the backcourt. Beats her defender though. Gets a screen from Duffesey, and foul called on the screen. Duffesey picks one up. Got her arms up too high and hit Immel, and so it's another turnover by Utah State. 11th turnover of the game for the Aggies. Porter tries to bring it across. It's double teamed in the backcourt, but passes up to Tugbu to get out of pressure, then back to Porter. 15 on the shot clock. Porter works up to the top of the arc. Guarded by Price, passes it over, and whistle blows. That's going to be a foul on Air Force. D. Bennett got caught on a screen to get Conroe open. And so that's the second team foul for Air Force and the first for Bennett. Sorry, the second for Bennett, make that. Aggies take back over, trailing by 9. There's Eliza backing up, gets the screen from Duffsey, doesn't use it, instead goes to the left and tries to pass it. Sloppy pass into Bassett. Really didn't stand a chance. Air Force has 3-on-1 back the other way, and somehow Brewster blocks it, but then the Tugbu gets it and lays it back in. Utah State almost got out of hot water there. Brewster playing phenomenal tonight. Had a 3-on-1 and still got a block, but points for Air Force nonetheless, and they now lead 33-22. Eliza works off a screen from Bassett. She's in trouble, a lot of pressure by Air Force, and then a whistle blows. That's going to be a foul on Erica Chapman. Erica Chapman wasn't letting Eliza get anywhere, and picks up a foul. It's the second for Chapman, third for Air Force. This time Eliza on the inbound, works off a screen from Duffsey, then passes over to Bassett, left elbow. Bassett tries to get in to the paint, but a lot of pressure, passes back out to Price. Price left wing, gets up, drives into the paint, puts up with the right-hander off the glass. Beautiful drive, Victoria Price. Now with 4 points. Aggies back down 9 again. Porter working to the right. Passes it in, down low. Immel backing up, puts one up, and that's going to be a foul on Utah State on the shot. They're going to get Victoria Price for that. So 2 free throws coming for Air Force. 4th team foul for Utah State. Saw this exact same thing here in the second quarter. Utah State got 4 fouls really early on. We still got 5 minutes to go, 5 minutes and 4 seconds exactly, and already with 4 fouls. So Immel to shoot 2. Immel knocks down the first. 68% free throw shooter. Immel, what a story she's been. Possibly the freshman of the year in the Mountain West. She's averaging 15.4 points per game, leading the team there in 2 assists per game, which is second on the team. Second shot is good as well. 5th in the Mountain West in points per game as a freshman. So Air Force back up 35-24. Eliza passes it back to Duffsey. Duffsey over to left wing. Brewster thought about a 3, instead gets up a baseline. 15-footer is good. Rachel Brewster is having a night. 5 of 8 for Rachel Brewster, 11 points and 4 rebounds. Good to see the Rachel Brewster that we're so used to seeing back at it. Porter stops on the block and passes it back out. Porter gets it back up top, tries to drive, and is fouled by Eliza. That's going to be 2 shots coming for Air Force. 5th team foul for Utah State, so every foul here on out for the Aggies is going to result in free throws this quarter. And media timeout called because we're just under 5 minutes. 4:26 to go, and Utah State trailing 35-26 with 2 free throws coming up for Air Force. We're going to cut out to a quick media timeout here and come back in just a moment with the rest of the third quarter of action here from Colorado Springs. All right, welcome on back. Clune Arena here at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Utah State trailing the Falcons of Air Force 35-26 with 4:26 to go in the third quarter. Both teams playing much better brand of basketball out of the half, but that's not saying a ton as the first half was just ugly. Utah State certainly playing better out of the break, but unfortunately for them, so is Air Force. And so it's going to be a tough road for Utah State to get back in this. Trailing by 9 with a couple of free throws coming for Air Force. Heading to the free throw line now, Courtney Porter with the first shot, no good for Porter. 55% free throw shooter. So far 1 of 3 from the line tonight. One more coming. And the second one no good as well. And Duffy comes down with the board. Foul called on Air Force on the rebound. That's going to go against Jen Urbanik. So Lindsey Jensen checks in for Utah State. Oh, you know what? That foul is on Utah State. That's my apologies. They signaled number 12, and I thought it was Urbanik, but it's actually going to go against Haley Bassett of Utah State. And because they are in the penalty already, or in the bonus, that's going to be free throws coming for Air Force. So it looks like officials going to take a look at the replay and make sure that they got the call right. But as it stands, it will be 2 free throws coming for Erica Chapman, a 76% free throw shooter. Looks like they were just looking to make sure they got the foul on the right player. Which it appears they did. First shot, though, for Air Force, no good. Bynum can't hit the first, has one more coming. Second one, no good as well. Bassett with the rebound. So Utah State lucky to escape that without a single Air Force possession on that time down the court. And coming back the other way, need to capitalize. Bryce passes up to Brewster. Brewster works to the right, gets up to the free throw line, passes it out, right wing. 3 good from Shannon Duffy. And all of a sudden, 6-point game. Utah State trails 35-29. Air Force ball, driving in as Porter, stops at the block, then tries to pass it back out. It's poked by Price, but holds on to it, then passes over. Beautiful pass to streaking Emmel, who lays it in with ease. Back to a 7-point game. I'm sorry, 8-point game as it's 37-29. Steal in the backcourt. Price couldn't keep the ball, and Air Force comes away with it. Springfield stole it right after the inbound, and going to give Air Force another opportunity here. Jumper from 15 on the baseline, no good from Bynum, and Utah State comes down with the board. Here's Price. Works off a screen from Bassett. Top of the arc, passes into Bassett. Bassett backs in, puts it up off the glass. Haley Bassett now with her 4th point. 3 rebounds as well, and it's 37-31. 3 minutes to go here in the third. Aggies closing it in a little bit. Need a little bit more defensive effort than we've seen here the last few possessions, though. Left wing, Chapman has it. Passes it in, backing in is Bynum, then passes it out. Springfield drives up, puts up with the lefty, and is fouled. And so free throws coming for Air Force. Foul going to go against Victoria Price. Oh, I'm sorry, foul on Lindsey Jensen. So she picks up her first. And it's 2 shots coming for Alexis Springfield. 53% free throw shooter, can't hit the first. Air Force has been to the line. They've taken 16 free throws now to Utah State's 2. Shooting just 8 of 16, though, 50%. She knocks down the second, though, and it's a 7-point lead for Air Force, 38-31. So 17 free throws to Utah State's 2. Aggies getting in foul trouble almost every quarter. And then a 5-second violation as Utah State can't get it in time. Air Force gave some full-court pressure, and Bassett couldn't find an open player in time, so another turnover by Utah State. 15 turnovers. Air Force inbounds from the baseline. Thought about a three. Porter said steps up, shoots from the free throw line, and Bassett comes down with the board. So Utah State doing a good job of keeping the second chance opportunities down, or keeping them closed on the second chance opportunities. Back the other way, a jumper from 10 feet, no good from Price, and the rebound by Itugbu. Utah State, Eliza West has 4 fouls already, Price with 3. So a couple guards in foul trouble for the Aggies. Driving up towards the baseline, Porter backs up towards the corner. 7 on the shot clock. She shoots from 20 and knocks it down just inside the three-point line. Courtney Porter got open and now has 9 points on the night, 8 rebounds as well. 40-31, the Air Force lead. Price on the right wing tries to pass it in. Bad pass and stolen away. Yet another sloppy pass turns into a turnover and then a 3 from Immel. She's fouled, hits the ground hard. She's still down. Trainer going to come out, take a look. Looks like it may be her knee. She is getting help back up and walking, but that's going to be 3 free throws coming for Immel if she is able to take them. Looks like it may just be a cramp. So Immel, a 68% free throw shooter. Looks like she is going to be able to take them. She's going to be able to stay on. Leading the team with 15.4 points per game as just a freshman. First shot, no good. Still kind of walking around funny. Seems to be in a little bit of a pain. 10 points leading the way for Immel. Second shot, no good as well. Clearly bothered by whatever happened to her knee. Deja Mason checks in for Bassett, and Olivia West checks in for Jensen. One last shot coming on the three-point opportunity for Air Force. Immel can't hit that. 0 of 3, and then somehow Erica Chapman got wide open layup off the rebound. Unbothered as she lays it in off the glass. 42-31 Air Force. So you hold them to 0 of 3 from the free throw line and then still give up 2. Price drives in and is fouled. So just the second trip to the free throw line coming for Utah State. 20 free throws taken by Air Force and only 2 for Utah State. But Victoria Price will have a couple here. Aggies trail 42-31. Got it as close as 6. Price knocks down the first. Price, a 72% free throw shooter on the season. She's had the team high in points the last 2 games with 11 each game. Tonight has 5, make that 6 as she hits the second. It's back to a 9-point game. 1:13 to go here in the third. 42-33. Aggies giving a little bit of backcourt pressure. Olivia tries to reach in and get the steal, but she hits the ground. Air Force brings it across midcourt. Itugbu gets into the paint, passes it out, right wing. Porter steps back, works off a screen from Bynum, passes it down to the block, spinning around. Chapman puts it up, too much on it. Rebound fought for by 3 Aggie players, and Air Force comes away with it. Whistle blows. They're going to say a jump ball called, and it's going to stay Air Force's way. But 3 Aggie players were there fighting for the rebound, fighting with each other, and somehow Itugbu just swept in, grabbed it, and is going to earn another opportunity for Air Force here. 25 on the shot clock. The inbound goes straight away to Chapman, then stolen. Olivia West, fast hands coming away. 3-on-1 in Air Force's advantage on the drive, and they poke it out of bounds, so Utah State going to get the inbound from the baseline. Aggies will inbound with 26 on the shot clock and about 10 seconds between the shot and game clock, and trailing by 9. Olivia to inbound, looks up top, gets it to Mason. And then Mason tries to pass it over to Brewster, and it's stolen away. Another turnover there. And then a timeout called by Air Force before Mason's able to force a jump ball. Just another sloppy pass, another turnover. And Utah State now has 16 turnovers in less than 3 quarters. Heads up play by Air Force and Coach Gobracek to call a timeout before the jump ball was forced. But with 29 seconds to go, Air Force is going to get it in with virtually the shot clock shut off. There's 0.7 seconds different, but they're going to have a chance for the last shot here, leading by 9 points. Aggies really stormed back. They played really well for a few minutes, got it back down to a 6-point game, and then seemed to have lost their wheels again. And you know, right now we're back to 9 points with an Air Force possession. It's kind of been teetering between 9 and 11 for much of the game. Just disheartening for Utah State. They're only shooting 39%, though Air Force only shooting 38, and then 16 turnovers. Utah State also having a really hard time in the rebounding battle. 32-21, the Air Force advantage. Air Force with 15 offensive rebounds. Again, I read this stat off earlier, but Air Force is one of the last teams in the nation in rebound margin. They rank 330th in rebound margin out of 345 teams with minus 7.8. So they give up 8 rebounds per game to their opponents, more than they get, and yet they still lead Utah State by 12 rebounds. So a lot to look at. 19 second chance points for the Falcons to 4 for Utah State. If you're looking for the biggest numbers, look no further than that. 19 second chance points. Of course, a lot of that a product of the offensive rebounds, 15 of them. But anyway, we're just about to get back underway. It is 42-33 Air Force with 29.7 seconds on the clock. Last time Air Force had the ball looking for a final possession, Utah State did get a steal and come away with it. Imagine we'll try and see him do the same here. Inbound into the backcourt for Porter. She brings it across and then guarded tightly by Price. Works to the right, steps back. Price tries to reach in, poke it away. Air Force able to hold on to it. Now over to the left wing. Immel has it. Immel gets a screen, hard screen by Bynum. Works up, puts up from the block, and is fouled. Blocking foul, Olivia West. And so a couple of shots coming for Air Force. 4.3 seconds is what the clock shows. So Utah State can get a shot off potentially before the end of the quarter, but 2 coming for Caitlin Immel. Immel, a 68% free throw shooter, though just 2 of 5 tonight. Air Force has taken 20 free throws and only made 9. However, they make the first there. Immel knocks it down. Second shot coming for the freshman guard. Now has 11 points and make that 12. She hits the second as well. So Utah State to inbound, 4.3 seconds on the clock. Inbound to Olivia West, passes way up to Price. Price going to shoot it inside the three-point line, won't go. And Utah State enters the fourth quarter, trailing by 11 to the 0-17 Air Force Falcons. Air Force looking for their first win of the season, and they are maybe on track to do. They are on track to do so if they can just close out here. 44-33, the score after 3 quarters. We'll be back in just a moment with the fourth quarter here in Colorado Springs. All right, welcome on back. We're here at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, where Utah State is trailing the Falcons after 3 quarters, 44-33. Falcons are 0-17 on the season, trying to pick up their first win, and well on their way to doing so. Utah State needs a big effort here, trailing by 11 entering the quarter, if they want to escape with a win. Last season, Air Force only won 4 games, and Utah State was one of those. And of the last 30 games, the last 28 games, the Air Force has played, Utah State their only win. Aggies have it in. Brewster works off a screen and shoots from just inside the 3-point line on the baseline. Won't go, and Air Force comes down with the board. So Utah State can't score on their first possession of the 4th quarter. Porter has it for the Falcons. Works off a screen from Bennett over to the right side, now on the wing. Passes back up top. Emmel gets a screen from Conroe, then passes it back. Conroe shoots just inside the 3-point line. Won't go. Price comes down with it and spins around, holds on to it despite Air Force pressure. Price going to bring it across midcourt. Works off a screen from Mason. Back up top. Here's Brewster. Brewster passes it in, finds Mason. Mason on the block, spins around, puts up the right hook, won't go. Offensive board, though, tipped back by Duffesey, back to Price. Great effort there. Driving up, Mason gets it, and Mason walks in the paint. Another turnover there, number 17. If you're Utah State, the only way you have a chance at this game is to play nearly mistake-free basketball and to play much tighter defense than what we've seen. And so far, not looking like they're able to do so here in the 4th quarter. Quick turnover, number 17 of the game for the Aggies. Back to Air Force we go. Here's Courtney Porter. Passes over, left wing for Conroe. Back up top to Bennett. Bennett over to left wing for Emmel. Dumps it in, gets Conroe on the left block, puts it up. In and out, no good. Bassett comes down with it. Haley Bassett with her 5th rebound, 4 points as well. Olivia brings it across. She's going to press. Kick it over to left corner for Duffesey. Duffesey into Bassett. Bassett in the paint, one-on-one, spins around, puts up, not quite there. And the rebound by Conroe. Aggies missing layups, turning the ball over, and it's a tough way to get back into it. Immel tries to pass. Quick hands, though, stolen away. Victoria Price with the one-on-one layup, puts it in. Victoria Price with a little bit of a spark there defensively, and it's back to a 9-point game. Air Force then inbounds. This is kind of bizarre. Air Force inbounded it. There was no Utah State player in the backcourt to put on pressure. They inbounded, and then Courtney Porter traveled before she dribbled the ball. So a very strange turnover there by Air Force, entirely unforced. I don't know if I've ever seen one of those. But it's going to go back to Utah State. So Aggies need to take advantage of this opportunity here. Duffesey has it near the left corner, tries to pass it in, gets it to Eliza, and then it's tipped out of bounds. Now it's kept in. Utah State keeps it alive. Duffesey this time has it poked out and then has to throw it back in right into Air Force hands. So Air Force playing pesky defense and coming away with the steal. Driving up towards the basket is Itugbu, and looks like they're going to call an offensive foul. She knocked Olivia down to the ground. So good job by Olivia to draw a foul there. And a turnover there for the Falcons. Eliza pressured in the backcourt but brings it across. One-on-one, hands it back to Duffesey. Duffesey going to drive up towards the left side, puts it up, too short on the land, and Air Force with the rebound. Bennett came down, hands it back. Porter brings it across. Utah State trailing by 9, 44-35, 7:12 to go. Pass into the baseline, beautiful pass, but can't connect. Immel wouldn't come down with it, but then her lay-in is rebounded by Air Force. So another offensive board. Driving up, Itugbu gets trapped, passes it out, right corner, driving up the baseline, back up the other side. Immel lays it in. Back door is open, and Air Force back up by 11. 6:45 to go. Eliza hands it off to Olivia on the left wing. Olivia goes right, then crosses over to the left and passes it back out. Eliza to left wing. Over the right wing now for Price, who's going to drive, spin around, try to go up, and there's a little bit of contact there, so she's going to head to the free throw line. Victoria Price making just the 3rd trip to the free throw line all night for Utah State. Aggies are 3 of 4 from there. And Victoria Price has went there earlier, went 2 of 2 on her first trip. 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists for the sophomore. And the first free throw is good. So 10-point game, 46-36. Gear and Brewster check in. Duffy and Olivia check out for the Aggies. One more shot coming for Victoria Price. Price's second is good as well, so now 10 points for the sophomore, and it's a 9-point game. Aggies given a lot of full court pressure, and Eliza West going to pick up a foul. Fouls Porter, and that's it for Eliza. She's going to be done for the game, I believe. That's, yep, the 5th personal foul, so. Not sure what's going on. Eliza's still on the court, though. Guess it's just taking a second, but Emmy Harris going to check in. Eliza West fouls out with 4 points and 1 assist. So she'll head to the bench. 20 minutes played. Emmy Harris likely going to close things out for Utah State, though. Inbound from Bennett, passes into Porter. In the backcourt, they break the press. Porter brings it into the front. Double teamed, gets out of it by passing over to Bennett. Then back over to Porter. 16 on the shot clock. Porter hands it off. Emil on the right wing, driving in, gets over to the left elbow, then hands it off to Tugbu. Tugbu back up top, 7 on the shot clock. Air Force needs to hurry. Driving in, Porter stops at the left elbow. Jumper from 15 is good. And that's going to put Air Force back up by 11. Porter now with 11 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Great night for Courtney Porter, sophomore from Ogden. Duffy checks in, Price checks out for Utah State. 5:56 to go, and it's 48-37 Air Force. Duffy inbounds into the backcourt. Brewster inbounds into the backcourt for Harris. Harris brings it across just before the 10-second violation, hands it off to Duffy, then back over to Brewster. Brewster 3, top of the arc, no good, but offensive board tipped, and it's going to go to Air Force. Bassett got her hand on it, tipped it back to the Falcons, though. So Porter works up to the right wing, hands it off. Here's Emil. Hands it over to the left wing for Tugbu. Gets up to the free throw line, driving up, wild shot underneath, doesn't go. And Brewster with the rebound. Brewster now with 5 and 11 points. Harris at point guard, gets a screen from Duffy. Works off and pass over to Bassett. Bassett steps inside the three-point line. Jumper from 17 feet is good. And it's back to a 9-point game. 48-39, the Air Force lead. 5:03 to go here in the fourth quarter, and a timeout called by Air Force. We're going to cut out to a quick break and come back with the rest of the fourth quarter here at Clune Arena here in just a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in to Aggie Women's Hoops here on AggieRadio.com. All right, welcome back to Utah State women's basketball. We're here at the United States Air Force Academy, where Utah State is trailing the Air Force Falcons 48-39. 5:03 to go in the fourth quarter. Crunch time for the Aggies. Need to go on a run quickly here. They want to have a shot at it. But Air Force playing excellent defense, making life hard on Utah State, and then taking advantage of every second and third opportunity they're getting. 21 second chance points for the Falcons to 4 for Utah State. Air Force balls, we come out of the timeout. Aggies go with the full court pressure, but Air Force breaks it quite easily. And then a lay-in from the baseline goes for Erica Chapman. Air Force now up by 13. I'm sorry, up by 9. Bassett on the right wing. Gets into the paint. Passes it out, left wing, 3 up. Rachel Brewster knocks it down. Three-pointer from Brewster is good. And Brewster now with 14 points on 6 of 11 shooting. Coming back the other way, here's Air Force. Back up top for Porter. Porter hands it over. Passes it to Chapman. Chapman gets a screen from Bennett, then passes it off to Bennett off the screen. Bennett lays it in, got open, but couldn't connect on the lay-in. And Bassett with the rebound. Bassett passes up to Brewster in the front court. Brewster turns around, guarded tightly by Bennett. And then a timeout called. No, Utah State wanted a timeout quite badly. Coach Finkbeiner was adamantly trying to call a timeout, but they're not going to get it. And instead, a turnover by Utah State. So that could end up being costly, but it's going to go back to Air Force. 8-point game, 50-42. Bennett inbounds to Porter. Emmy Harris in the backcourt, defending tightly. Aggies try to double team. Air Force barely gets it across in time. And now Immel shoots from the free throw line, knocks it down. That's a killer. Utah State got the ball, tried to call a timeout, gets a turnover after the officials didn't see him signaling for a timeout, and then 2 points the other way. Could have been a 6-point game, and it's 10 instead. Harris works off a screen from Bassett, gets up, tries to lay it in, too much on it, and the rebound by Chapman. Stolen back away by Gear, though, passes off to Harris, and then Harris travels as she tries to get up to the basket. So another Aggie turnover, and every time the Air Force gifts Utah State another opportunity, they aren't able to capitalize. It's 52-42, Air Force in the lead. Falcons back with the ball. Utah State 20 turnovers tonight. Chapman brings it into the front court, then a whistle blows. That's going to be a foul on Rachel Brewster. Brewster picking up her third, and the second team foul for Utah State this quarter. So inbound almost stolen away by Gear. Porter comes away with it, though. Porter works over to the right, guarded by Bassett, and then a whistle foul on Bassett. So 2 quick fouls on Utah State, now 3 on the quarter. Bassett picks up her third. Falcons inbound another fresh shot clock, up by 10. Porter goes over to the right side, passes it back up top, 3. No good from Immel, but an offensive board yet again. D. Bennett comes down with it, and that is 17 offensive rebounds for Air Force. Utah State has 20 defensive rebounds, and Air Force has 17 offensive rebounds. Another foul by Utah State, and now with 4 Air Force inbounds. Porter works over, and then a foul on Gear, which is going to send Air Force to the line. So Utah State picks up 4 fouls within a matter of about a minute. And now it's going to start costing them. Every foul will result in free throws. Courtney Porter, only 55% free throw shooter. 1 of 4 tonight. First shot, no good. So foul pays off for Utah State there. She's got 1 more. Air Force shooting just 11 of 23 from the free throw line, 48%. Abysmal night there for the Falcons. Second shot in, though, for Courtney Porter. So Utah State looking to inbound, a lot of pressure, barely get it in time. Duffsey finds Gear and then back to Duffsey. Bringing it across midcourt, Duffsey hands it back to Price. Price works over to the right, gets a screen from Duffsey, then tries to put it up and is fouled on the way to the basket. So Victoria Price heading back to the free throw line for the third time tonight. Utah State has only shot 6 free throws. 4 of those have been Victoria Price. She's 4 of 4 from the free throw line. Aggies trail by 11 with 2:32 to go. Price first shot is good. So 10-point game, 1 more coming. Victoria Price with 11 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and then Air Force calls a timeout. So on their way to the first win of the season, Air Force leads by 9, actually leads by 10, I'm sorry, with 1 more shot coming for Utah State after the timeout. We're going to cut out to a quick break and come back to the Clune Arena here at the Air Force Academy here in just a moment. Thanks for tuning in to AggieRadio.com. .232 to go here on the fourth quarter, and Utah State trails Air Force 53-43 with 1 free throw coming for Victoria Price. Price is 5 of 5 from the free throw line tonight. And after this, 5 of 6 as she can't connect, but offensive board by Shannon Duffsey. Duffsey passes it out, left wing, 3, Brewster, no good, and Air Force comes down with it. Etugbu would have been a huge play for Utah State, could have brought it down to a 7-point game. Instead, Air Force gets it, and Porter is fouled by Jesse Gear. So looks like Air Force will. Not sure what the discussion is. I thought that would send them to the free throw line, but it doesn't appear to be the case right now. Aggie's going to huddle up, take advantage of the officials talking things over. I'm not entirely sure what the discussion is. But Falcons lead by 10 with 2:21 to go. And in my estimation, it should be, I imagine it should be free throws coming up, but we'll see what they're, not sure exactly what they're talking about. We'll see. For Utah State, leading scorer is Rachel Brewster, 14 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist. She has had a really nice night. And then Victoria Price with 11 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Duffsey came down with 10 boards, 5 points, and 2 assists. So a nice night rebounding for Duffsey, though just one of the only players that was able to say that. Leading the way for Air Force, 16 points for Immel, 12 for Porter. So we're about to come back out of the break. It will be Air Force ball inbounding from the backcourt. Not entirely sure why that's not free throws, since we have over 5 fouls in the quarter for Utah State. But Air Force inbounds in the backcourt. Pass up to Immel, then over to the right wing. Chapman, Utah State trying hard to foul, but still can't. Now left wing. Air Force playing keep away, and they burned off about 15 seconds doing so. But finally, Utah State gets the foul. So Duffsey picks up her second, and that's going to send Vanessana Etugbu to the free throw line, an 82% free throw shooter. 2 of 3 tonight, make that 3 of 4 as she hits the first. Air Force just 13 of 25 from the free throw line. 1 more coming. And Etugbu misses the second, and then an offensive rebound. Fitting of the night. Bennett comes down with the board and then passes it out, and Utah State fouls Porter, who will head to the free throw line. And that's just sums it all up right there. Utah State gets a break and then lets an offensive board by Air Force. So Porter going to the free throw line. That is who they want to have there, but she makes the first. Just a 55% free throw shooter, and now 3 of 7 on the night. 1 more coming. It's 43 Air Force. Second one good as well. So Courtney Porter now has 14 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists. 1 rebound away from a double-double for the senior from Ogden. Aggies inbound. Emmy Harris going to bring it across midcourt. 2 minutes to go. Aggies trail by 13. Harris passes it over, finds Price. Price backing in the lane, spins around, puts it off the glass. Nice lay-in. And then a timeout called by Utah State. It's 56-45. Aggies down by 11. And Victoria Price now with 13 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. We'll keep it here as it should be a quick timeout. All time in this series, Utah State leads 8-2, and they lead 3-1 in this building. Of course, that one coming last season when they lost to Air Force. That was a 64-61 loss for the Aggies. Looks like they're going to follow that up with another loss this season here in this building, as we've got just 1:49 to go and Utah State trailing by 11. Aggies 4-15 on the season, 2-5 in the Mountain West, and you heard Coach Finkbeiner say before the game that this could come down and be an important game once tournament time rolls around, as they're trying to stay out of the cellar of Mountain West. So bringing it across midcourt is Immel. Immel passes over to Bennett. Bennett double team and passes back up to Immel near the corner. Immel double team, so she passes over to Bennett. 10 on the shot clock for Air Force. Works up, passes it back out to Immel, up to the three-point line. Free throw line jumper, no good. And the offensive rebound again by Air Force. Etugbu comes back, passes out to Immel, and Air Force has yet another offensive rebound, 19 of them. And then a scuffle on the floor. Air Force is going to call a timeout before anything happens, so teams head back to the huddle again. But 19 offensive rebounds for Air Force, 20 defensive rebounds for Utah State. And the Falcons, a team that on average are out-rebounded by 8 per game, are leading Utah State 42-27 on the boards. 24 second chance points to 4 the Falcons lead. I mean, it's exactly even in the shooting category, 38% apiece. Aggies actually leading in three-point shooting percentage, 33-17, and turnovers somewhat close, 20-17. Utah State with 20, but you're going to give up 19 offensive rebounds and 24 second chance points. You will not win that game. So Air Force inbounds to Porter. Porter passes it up to Chapman. 1:03 to go, and Chapman's fouled. It's Jesse Gear with the foul, and it's going to send Chapman to the free throw line. 1:03 on the clock. It's 56-45. Chapman, a 76% free throw shooter. Hasn't shot from the free throw line tonight, but has 6 points, and the first one's no good. 5 rebounds, 6 points for the senior. Air Force just 15 of 29 from the free throw line to make the second. Aggies to inbound. Bassett gets it into Brewster, hands it over to Price. Price brings it across, passes up. Harris, left wing, steps in, then back up top to Bassett. Bassett going to drive, has it poked away, keeps it though and lays it in. And Haley Bassett now has 8 points on that, 6 rebounds as well. And it's now 47-57, 10-point game with 47 seconds to go. Looks like Utah State mostly going to just let Air Force run this thing out. Price actually tries to reach in. She comes away with a steal, kind of swooped in and then goes up and is fouled on the way to the basket. So two shots coming for Victoria Price. Price with 5 of 6, has 13 points. If she makes both of these, she'll be the leading scorer for the Aggies, as Brewster has 14. 5 of 6 from the free throw line, though. 75% tonight for Utah State on 6 of 8 free throws. First one, though, no good. One more coming. Price hits the second. So now 14 points, and she's tied the team lead. It's a 9-point game, though, with 35 seconds to go. Aggies giving a little bit of full court pressure, trying to trap the Falcons in the backcourt. And they do, 10-second violation. So a turnover by Air Force there. They're 19th. And it's going to go back to Utah State, trailing by 9 points. 27.7 to go. Midcourt inbound coming from Bassett. Bassett gets it into Brewster. Brewster guarded up top, and it's poked out of bounds by Bennett. So Utah State going to inbound again, same spot. Brewster gets it into Bassett, then hands it back to Brewster. Brewster gets up, three-point line. Jumper no good from three. And Bassett comes down with the board, puts it back up. So Haley Bassett now has 10 points. It's 57-50, though, with 13 seconds to go. Air Force brings it across. They're going to hold on to the ball, and that is how this game will end. 7 seconds in all likelihood. Ticking down. Steal from Victoria Price with 3 seconds left on the clock, but it's not going to mean a thing. Air Force picks up their first win of the season over Utah State. Now 1-17, while Utah State falls to 4-16. In the last 29 games, Air Force has 2 wins, both of them over Utah State in this building. So really tough night for the Aggies. Not much else you can say about it. 20 turnovers. Out-rebounded 42-28. 19 offensive boards for Air Force. We're lucky enough to have a few minutes with Jerry Finkbeiner, head coach of Utah State, coming over to join us. Coach, what was going on in the rebounding game? 42 rebounds for Air Force and 19 offensive.
It's hard to explain, and I'd like to hear your call on it. Maybe you have a better answer than I do, but it's just very hard to explain. We played an Air Force team tonight. Teams like this we struggle against all year long. They're very aggressive and just pounding the boards on us, and every possession they had 2 or 3 kids go on the rebound. They didn't shoot the ball extremely well, but they rebounded and got the second chance points. I mean, we struggle against these kind of teams. They're aggressive offensive rebounding teams, and there's nothing pretty about it, but just mano-a-mano, blocking out, finishing the possession out. I thought we played pretty good defense. Our offense suffered a little bit, but the kids showed a lot of heart down the stretch, the fourth quarter, to try to keep it single digits to have a chance. But rebounds was huge. And then turnovers failed us again. It's the same broken record right now all season long, is just turn the ball over and getting out rebounded.
So, Coach, you get to go home now, and schedule lightens up a little bit, but what do you tell your team as they head into the locker room for this one?
We just got to keep their heads up, and still a big part of the season left, and just got to keep our heads up and come back tomorrow to practice and get ready for a home game on Saturday, which will be nice.
All right, thanks for the time,
Thanks,
Coach.
Jaden.
Appreciate it. That's Coach Jerry Finkbeiner, head coach of the Utah State Aggies, as the Aggies fall to Air Force. Falcons pick up their first win of the season, now 1-17 in a big effort over Utah State. Leading scorers for the Aggies, Rachel Brewster and Victoria Price with 14 apiece. Brewster also had 5 rebounds. Duffsey came up with 10 boards and 5 points, and Bassett with 10 points, 7 rebounds. So a few decent individual performances there for the Aggies. Leading the way for Air Force, Immel with 16 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist, and Porter with 14 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists. So 1 rebound away from a double-double there for Porter. Utah State shot 40% in this game, Air Force 38. So Utah State actually shot slightly better, and better from 3 as well, 30% to 17. Aggies shot 70% from the free throw line to 53 for Air Force. Turnover game tied at 20 apiece. Really the only place on the board. 26 points in the paint apiece, 10 steals apiece, very, very similar numbers all the way across the board, except for, and I've mentioned this 100 times, 42 rebounds to 28. 19 offensive rebounds for Air Force and 25 second chance points to 6. And look no further than that if you're wondering what happened tonight. But Utah State going to fall to Air Force 57-50 here in Colorado Springs. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to be back at it this coming Saturday. As you heard Coach mention there, they're going to be back at home this Saturday after a long road trip. going to be good for them to be back home taking on Fresno State. It's a game that earlier this season in Fresno was a 1-point game, really close. Two seemingly very evenly matched teams. Should be a good one for Utah State. I'm sure they're thrilled to be back home and taking on a good Fresno State team. But we'll be back at it. That's Saturday at 2 o'clock p.m., and then they head back out onto the road next week to take on New Mexico. Thanks for tuning in to AggieRadio.com. I'm Jaden Johnson on the call, and we're going to be, again, back at it later on this week. We'll have every game this season here on Aggie Radio and AggieRadio.com. Have a good night, and as always, go Aggies.